Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today, oh man, have we got a good discussion as we ask the question, was Magnus wrong in breaking the Edict of Nikaea to try and warn the Emperor of Horus's betrayal? Oh yes. Spoiler warning to begin, obviously we will be discussing lore from across the Horus Heresy, and in particular from the novel A Thousand Suns by Graham McNeill. As always, I really recommend you read the novel for yourself first, because that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. Not only that, we help to support the great Games Workshop and Black Library, because without them we don't have this amazing lore to talk about. I will put a link in the description as always, but with that said, let's just jump straight in. Okay, so as we know, the use of psychic powers within the Space Marine legions was always a controversial subject, and there were none more adept or immersed within that world than Magnus and his Thousand Sons. So when at the Council of Nikaea, the Emperor decreed an end to all use of psychic powers within the legions, forbidding further use of librarians, there was no legion more affected than the Thousand Sons. But Magnus could not resist the lure of the warp, and in peering into its depths, witnessed the betrayal of Horus. And with his attempt to prevent it from happening failing, he once more relied on his power of sorcery to warn his father, the Emperor, thus ruining the Emperor's Webway project, the final stage of the Emperor's grand plan. Now the question is, was Magnus right or wrong to break the Emperor's decree in trying to warn him? It's without doubt the biggest and most often debated question in the history of the entire Horus Heresy, and it's something I've found myself chopping and changing sides on over the years. But let us start by discussing the reasons for yes, Magnus was wrong, and he did deserve to face repercussions. Well, let's make no bones about it. Magnus knew the rules and he broke them. It's as simple as that. The Emperor could not have been more clear at Nikaea. I have walked paths no man can know, and faced the unnameable creatures of the warp. I understand all too well the secrets and dangers that lurk in its hidden darkness. Such things are not for lesser minds to know, no matter how powerful or knowledgeable they believe themselves to be. The secrets I have shared serve as warnings, not enticements to explore further. Only death and damnation await those who pry too deeply into secrets not meant for mortals. I see now. I have allowed my sons to delve too profoundly into matters I should never have permitted them to know even existed. Let it be known that no one shall suffer censure, for this conclave is to serve unity, not discord. But no more shall the threat of sorcery be allowed to taint the warriors of the Astartes. Henceforth, it is my will that no legion will maintain a librarius department. All its warriors and instructors must be returned to the battle companies and never again employ any psychic powers. The Emperor wasn't finished, and thunder rolled in his voice. Woe betide he who ignores my warning or breaks faith with me. He shall be my enemy, and I will visit such destruction upon him and all his followers, that until the end of all things, he shall rue the day he turned from my light. Man, I can't wait for a Magnus week to really dive into that moment. But like I said, there can really be no doubt. The Emperor was crystal clear. It stops now, and if you dare cross me, you will face my wrath. And what a line that was. Woe betide he who ignores my warning, or breaks faith with me. There's no grey areas here. The Emperor didn't say, well, unless you've got a really good reason, I'll let you off. Or, you don't have to worry about it, Magnus, this is for everybody else. And indeed, Magnus gets this sense when the Emperor is speaking, that it's directed at him. And truly reading the words, you kind of know it was. The Emperor was talking directly to Magnus. He knows full well Magnus's fascination with the warp. He made him that way. And look, perhaps if it was just in sending the message to the Emperor, then maybe we could say Magnus was justified. But it wasn't. Magnus continued to peer into the warp in secret, and again when he attempted to speak to Horus, to save him from the brink. Quite simply, the arrogance of Magnus was his undoing. He just couldn't stop that part of himself, that ego, the I know what I am doing. I am in control. The truth is, he was never in control. So did he deserve his fate? Well, the Emperor's orders were for Magnus and his sons to be brought to Terra. Now what the Emperor had planned for Magnus, only he truly knows. And I've certainly got a couple of theories on that matter. But what we can certainly say for now is that the Emperor certainly didn't intend the raising of Prospero. Russ and the Wolves were dispatched to bring Magnus back to Terra along with his legion. It was the newly corrupted Horus the War Master who manipulated the orders to full-on punishment. Magnus absolutely deserved to be brought to Terra before the Emperor. He broke the law. There's no two ways about it. And he deserved to face judgment. And let's remember the Emperor's words. He shall be my enemy, and I will visit such destruction upon him and his followers, that until the end of all things, he shall rue the day he turned from my light. This was why Magnus was so resigned to his fate. Even if the Emperor had dispatched the Wolves to raise Prospero, to devastate the Legion, could we really say that Magnus did not deserve it? He shall be my enemy, and I will visit such destruction upon him and his followers, that until the end of all things, he shall rue the day he turned from my light. Sure, maybe the Emperor didn't intend the raising of Prospero, but judging by his words at Nikaea, could we really blame him if he did? Even if the Wolves had been sent by the Emperor to raise Prospero, it was deserved. And now to play devil's advocate. The argument for no. Magnus was not wrong, and it was not deserved. Sometimes in life there are grey areas. There just are. Not everything can be looked at in a black and white way. Yes, Magnus broke the law, so to speak. That fact cannot be disputed. But it's not a black and white matter. He did so for the right reason. First he tried to save his brother Horus. Who can blame him for that? And then, once he failed, he knew he had to warn his father. Magnus's heart was absolutely in the right place. He didn't have the luxury of time. This was Horus Lupercal we're talking about. The War Master. The commander of the entire Great Crusade. So why not just send an astropathic message? Well, Ahriman asks Magnus just that. There can be no other way, my son, said Magnus. We talked about this before. I remember. But it frightens me that we must wield powers forbidden to us to warn the Emperor. Why should he trust any warning sent by such means? You would have me trust the vagaries of astro-telepathy? You know how fickle such interpretations can be. I dare not trust a matter of such dreadful importance to mere mortals. Only I have the power to project my being into this alien labyrinth and navigate my way to Terra, with news of Horus's treachery. For my father to believe me, I must speak to him directly. He must bear witness to the acuity of my visions, and he must know what I know with the totality of my truth, heard third, fourth, or fifth hand through a succession of intermediaries, will only dilute any warning until it is too late. That is why it must be this way. Surely his father the Emperor would understand why when he realizes the situation. And who's to say he wouldn't have, if it wasn't for the ruin of the Webway project? But as it was, it did. But can Magnus truly be blamed for something he knew nothing about? Ah, I hear you cry. But Magnus was still peering into the warp anyway. Magnus was made by the Emperor to be the way he was, to be the most powerful psychic being in the universe, behind only him, to strive further and further in his pursuit of knowledge. What did the Emperor truly think Magnus was going to do? Did Magnus truly deserve his fate? Would a man speeding to a hospital to save a brother's life deserve to be arrested? It's a debate of ethics that travels the passage of time. Can we truly say the Thousand Suns deserved to be destroyed? Can we truly say Magnus deserved to be broken across the knee of Russ? And can we truly say he deserves to be enslaved by Tzeentch? Because look, it was the actions of an Imperium he loved that pushed Magnus ever further into the embrace of chaos, however you want to look at it. For all his flaws, because even as a Primarch he has them, for all his mistakes, his intentions were honourable, they were just. To save a brother, to save an empire. If Magnus is guilty of anything, it's for being human. So did he deserve to have his homeworld ravaged, the wolves loosed on his legion, and himself broken, all for trying to save a brother and to warn a father? The answer is no. No, he didn't. So with both sides of the argument, the question is, where do you stand? Do you stand with the saying of Magnus did nothing wrong? Or is it simply a fact? Magnus was wrong. Or does the larger picture play a factor for you? He had already taken steps down the ruinous path, whether knowingly or not. Duped by warp entities he deemed himself above, striking dangerous bargains. Magnus was already well aware of the dark powers. He was truly out of his depth. Was Magnus wrong, or was he right? I can't wait to see your thoughts on the matter. And like I said, I can't wait to get around to a Magnus the Red week to really dive into his character. But as always, huge thank you to all my subscribers. Your support really means a lot to me, it truly does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.